Hello and welcome. This is Business Edge on News Central. I'm Tolulokwe Adileru Balogun. Our headline story: Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee meets. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee is holding its two-day meeting and will wrap up the second meeting this year today. Following January's meeting, the MPC voted unanimously to maintain the MPR at 11.5%. Analysts are expecting the committee to review the domestic and external macroeconomic conditions and financial market developments, as well as retain key monetary policy parameters. We'll be looking at issues around this MPC meeting. Welcome. This is Business Edge. It is expected that the progress with global vaccination efforts, Nigeria's exit from recession in Q4 of 2020, spiraling inflation, as well as developments in the financial markets would feature in the MPC's discussions. Globally, OPEC Plus supply cuts and a soft recovery in demand have maintained oil prices, which is an otherwise positive development for Nigeria, apart from higher pump prices and the attendant inflationary impact. However, the oil cartel's decision to retain production cuts implies Nigeria would continue to have lower production volumes. The country achieved about 1.78 million barrels per day in February 2021, compared to 2.07 in Q1 of 2020. On the other hand, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves have also been on the decline for most of the year. It is anticipated that a steady rise in crude oil prices and the gradual pickup of the global economy would eventually support FX increase. The latest GDP report published by the National Bureau of Statistics showed that the Nigerian economy contracted by minus 1.92% year-on-year in 2020. However, real GDP in Q4 of 2020 was surprisingly higher at 0.11% year-on-year, marking an earlier than expected exit from the recession. These are all issues that are, of course, going to be part of how the MPC makes its decision. Joining me now is Mukhtar Mohammed. Mukhtar is the CEO of Astra Dynamic Solutions, and of course, he is a regular for us here on Business Edge. Mukhtar, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure too.
All right. So we know that the committee is expected to look at a number of issues before deciding on the right rates that they're going to set. And if they follow the precedents, we've seen a number of African CBNs actually hold rates steady. But for Nigeria, what are the factors that you think would be most important in considering the nation's new rates, and of course looking at how unemployment has now hit about 33.3%, and what that, or how that factors into this latest meeting?
Well, for me, I think what the CBN should be looking at, the Monetary Policy Committee should be looking, is just how to bring down, try to curtail the exchange rate volatility, which has been a major challenge to them. So if they are able to get that right, then we'll get every other thing right. As it stands now, I think the major challenge would be that exchange rate volatility issue, because it has everything to do with the inflation that we are seeing. It has everything to do with
the most important factor they have to consider is trying to see how they can end the volatility in terms of the exchange rate. Just this morning, we heard the minister saying that we might have a flexible exchange rate. Whether it's due to pressure from the World Bank and others, we don't know for now. But if that works, if the exchange rate volatility is able to be stable, number one, we attract foreign direct investors, we attract foreign investors. You know, all issues in Nigeria is tied towards two things: inflation and the exchange rate volatility. But if you are able to handle the exchange rate volatility, indirectly you handle inflation, because 90% of what Nigerians consume are things that are imported.
Okay, so
that is the major challenge.
Okay, so let's stay on this exchange rate thing, because it's part of a very big conversation that's happening in Nigeria now. So as you said, we know that the IMF and the World Bank have urged Nigeria to maintain one foreign exchange system. And now we see that Nigeria has seemingly adopted a new foreign exchange rate policy for official transactions. The flexible exchange rates had previously only applied to investors and exporters and to government transactions. Now, NAFEX, that's what we're hearing this flexible exchange rate is called, has averaged about 410 naira to $1 since the beginning of the year. But what do you really think that this flexible exchange rate can do for Nigeria?
Let me talk about the negative thing it will do for us. That means our debt profile has gone up because the debt profile was measured at 390. Remember, it was first of all 378.
Yeah.
Then they moved it up to 397. Now we have moved it up to 410. So our debt profile is increasing. And just this morning, the World Bank was saying that we might get a debt profile of over 300 and something percent to debt to revenue, which is very, very poor. And that is going to be a big challenge for us to be able to pay off our debt. So the first negativity, that is it. And the second thing that you look at, what is the positivity? The positivity will take some time because we will begin to see whether we can attract foreign investors to bring in their funds, just like we used to stabilize the first volatility we had through the import-export window. The Federal Bank have tried a lot trying to use administrative means of trying to bring stability. First of all, they went after betting companies. We've not heard the last of that. Secondly, they begin to look at Nigerians in the diaspora remittance. But just today we realized that the diaspora remittance that comes into Nigeria also is down by 27%. And we all know why, because wherever they are, they're also affected by the pandemic. So most of them were not working. So it's a huge challenge for the CBN. And when you look at the flexibility of the exchange rate, then you begin to look at an exchange rate that may end up converging at the parallel market rate of almost 490 naira for $1. So, and that again will now raise our level of debt profile higher, even more than the 300 and something percent that we're expecting to debt to revenue. So it's a very precarious condition Nigeria is at the moment. And unfortunately, even with the rising cost of government price of crude, which should be good news to us, in turn it's becoming bad news to us because of the internal challenges that we'll have to deal with. And that internal challenges are very often head again, subsidy.
Okay, so let's quickly wrap up on this part of it. So there have been some reports that because the CBN has introduced NAFEX, the Naira has been devalued. And it's even been reported that this is the third devaluation in the past 1 year. So Mukhtar, in your opinion, has the Naira officially been devalued at this point in time?
Definitely, so you don't need anything to say that that's what has happened. Tactically, devaluation has been what we've been doing since the pandemic started. Remember, like I said, it moved to 376, later 393. Now we tactically moved to 410. And remember that they said it's flexible exchange rate. So it could move from 410 to another regime. And remember, again, the CBN also will want to see how this will work if they will not be defending the currency. Because that is a major challenge. If we have moved it to 410, and we are still struggling to make it stable at 410, but we have to do the weekly auction to bring in stability, then it's a bigger problem for us.
Okay, so now let's look at unemployment as it relates to the MPC meeting. We've seen that unemployment in Nigeria has been rising despite many programs that even the CBN has been implementing in terms of agriculture and other sectors. Now unemployment stands around 33.3% of Nigeria's working population. What, if any, fruit would you say some of these investments from the CBN have yielded when it comes to possibly helping Nigeria's unemployment situation?
So look, it's not the place of CBN to provide the enabling environment for Nigerians to be employed. We've seen this. CBN is only to build stability in the monitoring space, and that has to do with lending rate, it has to do with interest rate, it also has to do with stability in exchange rates, and also to make sure that we have monetary policy that is not detriment to business. Now, the main people that are supposed to create the enabling environment policies is the physical side. That has to do with the executive arm of government. So what we have seen thus far, whatever successes we have enjoyed as a nation economically, has always been from the monetary policy side. The physical policy have not been able to do anything to attract investment or in turn to even attract foreign direct investors to come to Nigeria and establish companies and in turn provide employment for Nigeria, for Nigerians youth. So as it stands now, It is not in the place of CBN. CBN can only bring in policies. It's led for the monetary policy that all CBN can do. It's led for the fiscal policy to begin to do what they ought to do so that they create the environment, attract industry, and in turn give employment to Nigerians.
So as a side note, Mukhtar, are you not concerned with the fact that we see the CBN going down what you call a path that it has absolutely no business with? There have been those criticisms of the CBN under Godwin Emefiele that they're getting involved in areas that have nothing to do with the remit of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Are you not concerned about that?
I'm very concerned because the CBN is now one giving loans to even farmers. We call it direct intervention, textile industry direct intervention, making industry direct intervention. That is not the duty of CBN. That is not the conventional way. These are supposed to go through the conventional banking. If CBN wants to do this and wants to see transparency, what stops CBN to use what they normally used before, to send this money to the banks? The banks are more in place to recover some of this money. Remember, up to this moment, because of things like this, where the executive arm of government was involved in giving money directly to traders in the name of trader money. Up to this moment, we have not been able to account for that money. Those are what happen when you begin to go outside your area of specialization. And that is what the CBN is doing. And on the other hand, you will not blame them, because when the people that are supposed to be doing that seems not to be able to even come up with policy to do it, they are trying to make sure their own monetary policy works. So they are trying to make sure that people begin to see the impact of their monetary policy, and that is why they are directly getting involved in what ordinarily should not be their business.
Okay, now let's talk about CPI. So Nigeria's Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation in the country, increased to 16.47% year on year in January 2021. This is higher than the 13.86% reported in December 2020. Now, the corresponding rural inflation rate in January 2021 was 13.04% compared to 12.67% recorded in December 2020. Looking at these figures and looking at a bit of the variation, what impact would you say these might likely have on a decision that the MPC will take involving the monetary policy rate?
Well, the MPC, as it stands now, I think they try to give credit using the banking sector to give credit so that investors will be, Nigerians will have confidence and buy things, and then they did direct intervention through the COVID relief funding. All this is trying to boost consumer confidence to be able to afford a lot in the bank, even the banking sector, that they are beginning to give consumer loans. But like I said, those loans are only for those that work, and when you have almost 30-something% of Nigerians that are not working, and mostly youth, it will have an impact in the consumer index space. What would CBN be doing? I don't think they have much to do. They have to continue what they are doing, hoping that the fiscal policy will be able to do their own bit and bring down and give confidence. Because when you look at consumer index, it has to do with the amount to improve the consumer protected index. It has to do with the amount of money that is in the hands of Nigerians. As it stands now, in terms of liquidity in the hands of Nigerians, it's generally low. Most Nigerians are not gainfully employed. Most of them that were gainfully employed when the pandemic comes, they have been asked to stay. Some people are becoming temporary staff overnight that used to be permanent staff because of the pandemic. And these are things that we don't expect to end this year. So it's going to be a very big challenge, because that means once the consumer index process is very low, that will affect companies. And once it affects companies, that means most people will also lose their jobs again, because the companies depend on people purchasing their products. And when the people don't have the manpower to purchase their product, that means their bottom line will be low, and that will in turn affect their staff. So it's a very difficult side that we are in terms of that. And remember again, they've been increased in electricity tariffs, they've been increased again in fuel consumption. All these are tied in Nigeria. Once you have an increase in electricity tariff, it affects everybody. Fuel consumption, it affects everybody. So the consumer, the earning capability of Nigerian consumer keep on depreciating by the day. And it is when you depreciate, then you need to begin to look at how to balance also so many other things that you used to do before will not take the back seat, and that will affect the company's bottom line.
Okay, so let's ask about what the results will be. So first, according to Fitch Ratings, now despite gradual and moderate exchange rate depreciation over the last year, They say that the naira remains overvalued. Persistent double-digit inflation under a tightly managed multiple window exchange rates regime could drive further misalignment of the currency relative to fundamentals. Now, Rich has forecast inflation to average about 16.0% in 2021 and 13.4% in 2022 in Nigeria, driven by a number of cost-push factors. So we see that the MPC is facing a dilemma of rising inflation, which right now is at 17.33%, slow growth, which is at 0.33%, and the devaluation of the currency, which currently stands at about 481 naira to a dollar, depending on who you ask, as you mentioned earlier. What decisions do you think are going to come out of the MPC today? Are they going to hold the MPR? What should we expect?
I think they're going to hold the MPR and that they're going to give you this excuse to tell you that, look, 1 month is such a short time to begin to see the improvement in some of this policy. They will tell you that the border just got opened not long ago, so it will take time. They will tell you that some of the policies that they're intervening in is not an overnight success because this thing did not just start overnight. They'll give you a lot of things that will give you confidence that, look, we know that the economy is kicking. They will look at loans from the bank to the private sector, which have considerably increased from data from all those banks, and tell you that, look, it's just a matter of time that things will improve. But again, like I said, they could be doing the monetary side. Once the physical side is not working, it's always a challenge going forward.
All right. So when we get our decision, we'll definitely be having another conversation about that. Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO of Astrodynamic Solutions, thank you for joining me on Business Edge.
My pleasure, Tolu.
All right, so let's get straight into it with NC4 to watch. And we start in Nigeria, where the country is working towards achieving exporting growth across Africa via the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, and is also looking to earn about $50 billion by 2035. It was the senior special assistant to the president and the secretary of the National Action Committee on AfTA, Francis Anatogu, who disclosed this at an AfTA review presentation in Lagos. Moving across the continent to the east now, Kenya's trade agreement with the United Kingdom is now operational after both countries completed the ratification process. Kenya aims to enhance its market share in the UK by 5% by 2025. This translates to $10.2 billion, or about 1.1 trillion Kenyan shillings. This would also be up from about the 39 billion Kenyan shillings for the last 5 years to 2019. Earlier in March, the post-Brexit trade agreement received approvals from legislators on both sides, creating a path to continuing duty and quota-free access from Kenyan exports post-Brexit. However, the duty-free and quota-free access excludes agricultural and industrial products. Egypt's Minister of Trade and Industry, Naveen Gamia, disclosed that the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency pumped 9.1 billion Egyptian pounds into women's projects between July 2014 and late 2020. The minister, who is also the executive director of the agency, said it had achieved a leap in financing women's projects as it provided 623,500 loans in total during that period. This includes 27,851 loans for small projects and over 500,000 loans for micro enterprises. And finally, the African Enterprise Challenge Fund has launched a $1.2 million innovation fund to unlock the potential of renewable energy to create new business opportunities. Businesses and entrepreneurs from Burkina Faso, Ethiopia, Kenya, Liberia, Mali, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe can apply for funding, as the fund is aimed at strengthening market readiness of emerging innovations, as well as to secure financial, technical, and networking support for taking existing proven prototypes to scale. And that's it on this edition of Business Edge. As always, thank you so much for joining me. We have a website. We are online at News Essential TV. We're also on your television, Star Times Channel 274. Take us with you everywhere you go. I'm Tolulokwe Adeleru Balogun. I'll see you next time.